thought let's make a bit of a warm and cozy vibe going on today, because I have here for you the review of the Nomad Cosmetics Polar Express palette. Let's very quick take a look inside before we head into the looks, because you voted on Instagram and you will get 4 looks. This, by the way, is look number 1. So I finally managed to film the intro before I'm done so that I can give you some like initial thoughts, and then we see how I feel about the palette at the end. The packaging this time is a cutout cardboard, so it comes in this packaging here with the left out thing, and when you have the palette inside you see the train just as you do here, and on the back it says a holiday color scene of wintry silvers and blue adorned with chocolate, crimson and gold shades, all formulated with extra fine pigments for velvety rich color infused with cocoa seed butter to help skin soft. 8 merry mattes, 6 glowing shimmers and 1 festive multichrome inspired by the Christmas classic, the Polar Express. Now let's talk about the swatches, and to be honest, when I swatched out the palette I was a bit confused because the swatches look a bit different to what I actually expected here, but now that I look at the palette, I'm not confused anymore. It's weird because the swatches, they look borderline foggy, muted down, toned down, kind of this how can I say this, like a color or I think the picture that I have in my head of this toned down and muted color, not in a bad way, is, you know, street lights, a street lamp in the winter with a big layer of snow on top. So the light is still coming through, but it is somewhat covered of with snow, and you get this super cozy, strange glow from the light. And this is kind of the feeling that I get from these swatches here. And I already posted this on Instagram, but I know a lot of people want to know how close is now Polar Express to the Fuji 5 Lakes. Before I show you the comparison of the swatches, let me show you both of the palettes kind of side by side. I understand where people are coming from when they say these look very, very similar, but honestly, I think the main similarity are 2 shades in here that make you feel like that. First of all, it could be one of the blue shades that might look a bit like this here. This is Mount Hawaii. And then I think also the fact that Santa's Helpers is very, very similar in the look of Momiji here. But here are the swatches now side by side. The top is Fuji 5 Lakes, the bottom is Polar Express, and I do not swatch these column by column because I think it can be a bit misleading. What I like to do is I swatch them row by row because I personally don't use them column by column. That's why my swatches maybe look a bit different than Nomad, because they swatch column wise for the color story, for the curated columns that they did. So honestly, Fuji 5 Lakes compared to the Polar Express is like that street lamp, but without the snowy cover. It is a bit more vibrant, it is a bit louder, and compared to Polar Express, borderline neon looking. I already got the question if I can do a look of both combined. I'm not planning to be honest. If so, I might do it in a short or a reel, however you call it. But for this video, I really want to focus on creating looks just with this. But I agree. I also think that the Polar Express combines perfectly with the Fuji 5 Lakes, because you have just here the shades to add this little bit of glow, to add this intensity, to add a neon light. Maybe for the 4th look, but I'm right now after 1 look not planning to do it. But now, with any more rambling, let's head into the looks. I'll start the look with the shade Nougat Candy and apply this as transition color. Ooh, this is very light. Okay. Let's build up that shade. That's a definition of a good transition color, honestly. I now go into Hot Cocoa, and I use this in the crease. I now go into Santa's Helpers, and that one I apply on the outer V and crease, but also here on the inner part of the lid and crease. So it's not like halo, but halo-ish. I now go into the shade Believe. In that one, I tap on the inner and outer lid part, basically on top of the reddish matte. And now I go into Christmas Carol and tap this here in the center. For Lana, I go with a wine red color. Hopefully it matches the vibe. This is the shade Joyride from ColourPop. But, ooh, that is pretty much spot on what I wanted. And I do line the waterline quite heavy plus the skin. I'm going to Santa's Helpers again here. And I use this to blend out the liner and to smudge it across the lower lash line. I now go into Hot Cocoa and I use this slightly below for a buffed out look. For my inner corner highlight, I go into Mr. C. I apply this on my inner corner. And here we have now the first finished look. For the lips, I went with MAC Mahogany, filled in the complete lips, and then I topped it off with the Hourglass Phantom Glossy Balm in the shade Wish. This is like warm, cozy, but also neutral because of the first shade that I used as transition area. It just gives the whole eye look something like subtle down toning without making it looking weird, and I really enjoy that. So I'm very excited now for look number 2. Look number 2, I start with the shade North Pole and apply this in the crease and bring it up to the transition area. Oh boy, I was not expecting this, to be honest. Okay, cool. I now go into Frozen Sea. Apply this on the outer V area and of course in the crease. And I also go into Snowy Mountain. And I use this here on the inner crease part to ice it up a bit. I then tap into First Gift and apply this on the outer 2/3 of this look on the lid. And then I go into Silver Bell and fill in the rest and swipe it on top of First Gift too a bit. For a little bit more contrast in this look, I'm taking the Nabla Cupid's Arrow in the shade Midnight Gray. And I line my waterline and the skin around the lash line too. And then I go into Frozen Sea again and buff that out. I also go into Desert of Ice, and that one I smudge slightly below that for a very smoked out look. I now tap into All Aboard and use this as inner corner highlight. And here we have now the finished look. On the lips I went with the MAC lip liner in Oak and topped it off with the new Huntoor. It's Hyntoor, so I guess it's Huntoor. Matte lip cream, and I think the shade is Weird Coffee Green. I haven't labeled them yet. I will send this in PR by Look Healthy store. Very blue, very icy, very pretty. And now let's head over to look number 3. So I was originally planning to do 4 looks, but there are some private things that are coming in, so I will not be able to do a 4th one. So this is number 3 that will finish this video, but I will give you, as said in the intro, a 4th look, but not in this video. It will be featured as a reel or a short, or however you want to call the short form content, and it will be definitely a mix between this and the Fuji 5 Lakes that was asked for. So I'm sorry, but you know, sometimes life happens, but number 3 will be now featuring all the missing shades. So I will start the look again with Nougat Candy because it's just such a good transition color to start the look with. And I then go directly into Dark Forest. And that one I apply here, outer lid and through the crease. I want to warm up the inner crease parts, so I take Santa's Helpers again and blend that just here on the inner half crease. I now go into Frozen Sea. I know this look is wild. And that one I use here on the outer V and outer crease. So Dark Forest basically was just a dark base to kind of neutralize the heavy colors of the blue, mainly because I want to have a muted blue with the frosty vibe, but I didn't want to have blue like the look before here. I applied my glitter glue and now I go into what am I starting with? I start with Polar Express. This is, by the way, the only multi-chrome in the palette. And I start to tap this in the center and then I bring it outwards. And then I go into Christmas Carol and fill in the rest of the lid with this. And where they both meet, say it with me, I just swipe it outwards. For liner, I use Amethyst Owl from Colourpop. I go into Dark Forest and smudge this across the lower lash line. I also tapped into Nougat Candy and I used this to buff everything out. For inner corner highlight, I go into Mr. C again and tap it on. And here we have now the finished look. On the lips, I went with MAC Whirl Lip Liner and topped it off with the famous Velvet Teddy. So in 3 looks, I was able to use, I think, every shade. Yes, I used every single shade in this palette, and I feel like I'm very repetitive, and I always say that Nomad is kind of, is topping themselves with every release, but I feel like this palette is quality-wise even better than before that, and that one is better than that before. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, I feel like they're constantly improving. Maybe this is a very subjective view of this. I don't know. I don't have proof of anything. I never saw that they just stated a reformulation or anything, but I feel like they get just better and better and better. And honestly, this is the Christmas palette I wish I tried as first palette from them, because if you remember, the Santa's Village 9-pan palette was such a letdown because of the bad shimmers in there. This is a complete different company, it feels like. I like the color story a lot. I think it's a very versatile color story, and it will fit a lot of needs for color lovers, for frost lovers, for warm eyeshadow lovers, for neutral lovers, for like very simple eyeshadow lovers. For example, I can totally imagine just using hot cocoa in the crease and on the lower lash line and Mr. C all over the lid, maybe even with the finger if it's something you do, and you're good to go. So this palette, definitely a banger. So which one do I like now more, this or the Mountain Fuji 5 Lakes? Honestly, this is not easy, and I have to think about this when I work out my ranking this year. I right now feel like they're kind of in the same spot because both have their different pros that makes them very special, and it's hard to settle with a favorite of this, and I definitely have to redo my Nomad ranking in the future in January or so. But I want to end the video with a very important note and maybe call it even a concern. I love Nomad Cosmetics. I think what they brought out in 2024 was just banger after banger after banger after banger. There was not a single letdown, kind of. I have not tried all of them. For example, I skipped the Ireland palette because an all green palette is just not for me. But when we just look back in 2024 and maybe compare it with the releases of 2023 that they did, I have not looked it up in numbers, but I feel like they really stepped up the volume, and I think Nomad Cosmetics should slow down. While I appreciate and I praise their releases and I love their stories, I love everything behind every single palette, and I just don't have negative things to say about the palette's quality, the color story, or anything. I just want to point out that I feel they are getting into a rush mode, and I'm a bit afraid that if they keep up this pace in 2025, that something will fall off like behind them, and that will be originality, good ideas or even the quality, because their stories, everything that they construct around a release, there is so much love in there. And I much rather would have just 4 palettes a year from them, like I feel like it was before, and then just have this big picture that they paint with it, and enough time to let this release breathe and to let this release just shine and have its stage to be there, than rushing palette after palette after palette because they just have a good idea. If you want to get this, I'm not affiliated with Nomad Cosmetics yet. Maybe that comes in the future. I really hope so. But I know they do have an upcoming sale, or when this video is up, it's already going. I will link their Instagram post down below where they put all the infos down below, because they said that you can save between 10 and $100. So not sure if specifically this palette is included. I just hope so, because I think a lot of people are waiting for that sale to get it. So check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know which look is your favorite and what you think about the speed of Nomad Cosmetics, because I feel like we should maybe vocalize our concerns and just ask them to slow down. Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out any of the videos coming, and ELLAGRAM starts next week. Oh my god, I think it's next week on Sunday. Thank you. So subscribe so you don't miss that, and I'll see you in the next one.